Ancient wisdom is often dismissed as outdated, Daniel. But what if I told you there's a 2,000-year-old text that reads like a modern political drama, complete with reality show competitions and philosophical battles over the nature of truth?
That's such an intriguing way to look at First Esdras, Pappy. Most people probably think ancient religious texts are just dry historical accounts.
Well, this one's different. We're talking about a text from the second century BCE that offers an alternative version of events from the Hebrew Bible with some fascinating additional elements that make it feel almost like a director's cut.
So, what makes this particular version so special?
Picture this. It starts with one of the most dramatic moments in Jewish history. Cyrus, the Persian king, declares that after generations of exile, the Jewish people can finally return home and rebuild their temple in Jerusalem. It's like getting the keys back to your ancestral home after it's been occupied for decades.
Hmm, that must have created some serious tensions with the people who'd moved in during their absence.
Exactly right. And that's where things get really interesting. The returning exiles, led by Zerubbabel and Jeshua, face this intense opposition from neighboring communities. Think about trying to rebuild your house while your neighbors file constant complaints and actively try to stop construction.
You know what fascinates me about this? How it mirrors so many modern conflicts over land and cultural heritage.
And here's where the story takes this unexpected turn. We get what might be the world's first recorded philosophical competition. King Darius holds this contest to determine the most potent force in the world: wine, kings, women, or truth.
That's such an interesting choice of options. Each one represents a different kind of power.
Precisely, you've got physical influence with wine, political power with kings, social power with women, and moral authority with truth. And here's the kicker: Zerubbabel stands in front of one of the most powerful kings in the world and argues that truth is stronger than everything else, including the king's own power.
Well, that must have taken a great deal of courage. How did Darius react?
Um, Surprisingly well, actually. He's so impressed by the argument that he not only declares truth the winner, but offers Zerubbabel anything he wants as a reward. And instead of asking for personal wealth or power, Zerubbabel requests permission to rebuild Jerusalem.
That's like winning Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and using the money to rebuild your community center.
That's a perfect modern comparison. And it leads to this massive turning point where the rebuilding project gets new life, supported by the prophets Haggai and Zechariah. But then we get to another fascinating aspect. Ezra arrives and implements these strict religious reforms.
It's like, what kind of reforms are we talking about?
So he calls for this complete separation from foreign influences and a return to traditional religious practices. It's this classic tension between preserving cultural identity and adapting to new realities, something we're still dealing with today.
That really resonates with modern debates about globalization versus cultural preservation.
And here's what's really fascinating. Even though this text isn't considered canonical by most traditions, it's preserved in the Septuagint. It continues to offer incredible insights into how ancient people grappled with questions we're still asking today.
What makes something compelling, whether it's military might, economic influence, or moral truth?
Exactly. And how do you rebuild a community after displacement? How do you maintain cultural identity in a changing world? These aren't just ancient questions, they're headlines from today's news.
So, in a way, this text is like a bridge between ancient wisdom and modern challenges.
Well, that's really what makes these ancient texts so valuable? They remind us that while the context might change, the fundamental human experiences dealing with power, truth, identity, and community remain surprisingly constant.
And maybe that's why this particular version of the story has survived for over 2,000 years, Pappy.
You know what, Daniel? I think that's exactly right. Whether it's the competition at Darius's court or the challenges of rebuilding Jerusalem, these stories continue to resonate because they speak to a fundamental aspect of the human experience, and that's probably the most powerful truth of all.